Hey, yo, what's going on, good people, man? Welcome to the next episode review of Danmachi. Is it wrong to pick up girls in the dungeon, man? Episode 6, entitled Knossos, man. So, yeah, stuff's been going down and it's been getting heavy, y'all. Sorry for the late episode review. Last weekend was a little bit busy. Things had to get taken care of, but, we back. The next episode will be dropping in a couple of days, and I should be back on track like that. But, without further ado, we pick back up with Gross encountering the human who basically tried to rape Rane or defile her body, which, he identifies him by the scent, but, we obviously know that's different because of the markings on his face and everything, because she spat the acid all over him and stuff like that. So, Gross is trying to get information out of the guy to locate the other Xenos, which he tells him head east. But, as he's kind of flying off, he says to himself, it doesn't matter. He won't be able to get in anyway, like with the knowledge, as I assume he dies or he just faints off. But then, it's just a mystery at this point. And then we see the extra forces from the Ganesh family in the dungeon getting a survey of the landscape and nothing, just trying to locate the other Xenos, the armed beasts and everything like that, keeping in mind they're not to kill them, just subdue them. This is not to cause any harm or any issues with anybody. They just want to get things, just get them under control, get things checked out, which they surprisingly catch up to Lid and his squad like really fast and start to kind of fight it out, just again letting them know like we're just to subdue them, we're not to cause any harm or kill them or anything like that. But from the top somewhere heading up, we see Ryu, Aisha and Asfi kind of looking down at the battle and seeing the Ganesh people getting pushed back. So they also lost sight of Bell, which is the whole reason as to why the three baddies are in there in the first place. So without anything else, like Aisha's like, we already lost Bell, let's just go down and help them out. And Aspie's kind of like apprehensive. She doesn't really want to do it, but she does it anyway. So it's just like it's one of those things, and they just go down. But we see Bell currently in the fight with a snake woman until Lid intervenes, and they both run off. And our three ladies have already hit the field and they're doing their due, they're assisting everyone. And Lid asks Bell what he's doing down there, and Bell pretty much tells him he heard about the attack on Laveria and wanted to know if and why it was the Xenos, to which Lid says yes, they did do it. Their kin had been attacked by poachers who we know are Dix and his people, and Lid explains he tried his best to talk and convince them otherwise, but in his own right, he could not suppress his rage with what had been done to his family, and that they will be the ones to save Wine and the others, which in my own personal view, I think is justified. I get it. I completely understand it. But as Bell approached him, Lid drew a line in the dirt asking, if he was human, telling him to turn back and stop caring about monsters. Also, if he were to be seen with them, it would be the end for Bell. And this goes to show just truly how kind-hearted, even in his rage, that Lid is. He still cares enough for his friend. And he tried to get Bell to leave and go back to Lily and the others, but, you can see the unwillingness in Bell that he will not turn away from a friend. And as Lid begins to yell, kind of like, go away, Ryu jumps in, and Bell, to Bell's surprise, he's just shocked she's down there, like, what are you doing there? And Ryu then also tries to convince Bell to leave, but he's kind of he's still apprehensive, like he's not gonna do it, he's not gonna turn away, and he apologizes and he has kind of tears in his eyes. But Ryu also lets us know that this incident has the dark faction involved with it, and somehow this ties it into Evilus in some way. But apparently, guys, Ryu can't stand the existence of Evilus. Like, we may find out hopefully why later down the line as the show progresses, why she feels this way about them. But then she hands Bell a bag and then hopes that whatever's in here, the contents, could be of assistance to him as he pursues Lid further east into the dungeon, because we know that's where the guy from the beginning gave Gross the information saying, hey, head further east, that's where they'll be at. And I really think dude died. Like, come on, man, she was a spider. So Gross and Lid have made it to the easternmost part of the dungeon, but have no way of getting there to the kin. And then, bam, we see the wretched man Dix himself, and he tasks the main grunt guy who we saw slice our homie up, man. R.I.P. the foe and everybody else like that. And he lets him know they're basically gonna finish what they started. This is, to finish the hunt. And then, Bell makes his way along the way to the eastern corner to try and catch Lid and everyone else, and he bumps into Phil along the way, and they both go looking for Lid. And along the eastern wall, when they get there, like Bell's bag, the round object inside the bag begins to glow, and Phil holds it up to the wall and reveals an entrance to what appears to be a man-made structure underneath the dungeon, where they encounter, as they move through, just another type of door made out of orichalcum, which any of you all know if you've played any type of fantasy game or game that involves any type of might, magic, mysticism. Orichalcum is that, it's that dude, boy. It's that metal that you want to have. It is the end all be all. It is the greatest to forging ultimate weapons or anything. But and that's it's second. It's not second, sorry. It's the one above adamantite, which is second to orichalcum. And after getting through the door, there's a carving in the wall that says Daedalus. And then, it transitions back to the surface. We see the squad trying to figure out how they're going to get inside the dungeon to help the others with no idea how. And Welp and Makoto allude to the idea that there may be a guild of some home front for the poachers in Aurario if they're selling monsters, but how could they find it? And after Hestia makes a slight statement, Lily gets an idea, and then we see the crew kind of head over to this holding cell, and we see the ex-second in command of Lily's old guild, which I have to say, it's kind of refreshing to see dude in chains. He was ass. My man was pure boo-boo butter. He's definitely butt. And then Lily begins asking where they might find the location of people selling monsters, in which he tells her they might find something if they head over to Daedalus Street. And when we transition back to Phil and Belle walking through the hidden location, they start to ponder, or more so, Belle asks if this is connected to if this is connected to Daedalus Street. Phil's has been pondering this too, but they come to the conclusion that if this is actually connected to the surface, this would be how they're getting the monsters out. This would be how they're actually getting the creatures from the dungeon back up to the surface world, and however they begin to sell them and do whatever it is they need to do in order to secure funds, blah 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 blah, all that crazy stuff that we won't find anything out about. But being that the case, Oranos and Fels have also kind of always wondered if there may be some additional connections into the dungeon other than just, from Babel, which is how we usually see the adventurers go down into the dungeon, which this does confirm that. And then we see Lid and Gross and the others making their way further ahead into the structure, which is set up by Dick, and when they get inside, they free the other kin and are able to, let some of the other ones out of the chains. And it was like, this is a setup, this isn't going to be anything good, but with that in mind, they're doing this because they know they have to do this. And then that's when Gross and Dix exchange a few words, and they try to start kicking things off, but then Belle shows up. And to Dix's surprise, as he had no request for Belle to be there, but nevertheless, he figures out that the key to enter had to be taken or stolen from someone. So which one of his crew got jacked or got stolen from or lost it, however that may be the case. And Fels asks Dix, "Is this man-made labyrinth the work of Daedalus?" Which Dix confirms and kicks off the story of how this whole thing ties into Daedalus, that the old man we saw in the beginning who was just obsessed with whatever the hell he was doing. He started beating a hammer with his hand, which I applaud him for, because he's crazy. That's some cuckoo stuff that I would not do. But also stating that Dick says he is a descendant of the creator. No one has a claim to complain about this of any kind, and then he shows proof that he is a blood relation to the creator, which I thought was pretty cool, as everyone in Daedalus's bloodline had that emblem or that mark you saw in the beginning inside of his eyes, or the same emblem you see on the actual key to get into the hidden area. And it looked similar to, if you've ever seen Naruto, it looked similar to some of the Keket Genkai you see, like the Sharingan, the Byakugan, the Rinnegan, so on and so forth, or whatever that thing was called from Code Geass that Lelouch had in his eyes that he can only activate during certain things. and that this whole, that whole thing with his eye was basically a blood binding, and had been passed down through the generations, so only his own can work on his man-made creation. And as Ikelos, when he was met with Hermes at the top, he was basically like, congratulations, somewhat, Hermes, you found me. This is how we're gonna do it. Since you found me, I'll answer any of your questions, and that's when he explains to him that the keys are from the bodies of the previous dead bloodline holders. So basically, folks have died down in that dungeon trying to finish this masterpiece, and they were just like, forget it, we'll just take their eyes and we'll just make them keys for the people to enter in or to get in and out, as so on and so forth. But with the backstory starting, this is, I'm gonna make this as short as I can without making it too long-winded, because it could be really long-winded if I explained it the way how they explained it. So more so, over 1,000 years ago, or just roughly at 1,000 years, Daedalus helped contribute to the construction of Aurario, completing the Babel Tower as well. And shortly sometime after that, while being praised as a genius, he kind of went insane. He went insane, but he looked at the dungeon, or was haunted by the dungeon, and wanted to surpass that. And he looked at the dungeon as if it was an opus, like this masterpiece that, I guess, with him also being a creator or an inventor of sorts, he wanted to one up that which couldn't be comprehended by man. That I don't even know if the gods even know 100% how or what it is, and we don't know. They don't really say too much, but that's kind of where it was. And being that time is always a key factor in things like with, creators and inventors, the people who want to make anything that's lifelong and standing, he utterly left it down to his descendants to finish his life's work, which is where we get the blood binding and the curse. So, and even with it only being 1,000 years have passed since Daedalus originally had started on it, they've only made it to the middle layer of the dungeon's floors, which I kind of find it odd that the middle of the floor, or it could just be the top of the middle layer of the floor, which is like the 19th, 20th floor in that varying area. That's the middle of the floor. I'm like, you sure? Or like I said, it could just be the top to what starts the middle layers, because the middle could be maybe 60, 50 floors deep, and then you finally get to the bottom. Like I'm kind of scaling it from, however, well, it could be scaled from 1 to 10 type of thing, because the mid floors, it could be 1 to 20 is the upper layer, and then 20 starts the middle, and then 20 to whatever is from there on down until you start traipsing into the lower levels. But with that being said, Gross tells Dix that he will definitely suffer for the consequences of his actions against their kin, and in which after that, Bell starts to deflect these arrows from, they're getting ready to try and start the fight, and he's gonna protect the monsters. That's why he came down there. He wants to show them that he's not like the rest, and they were still confused when Bell showed up, like, what is he doing here? Why is he here? But that not being the most important thing. But after that, Dix uses some curse to make the other monsters all start attacking one another in some type of illusion or confusion based type. It basically, to put it in Naruto terms, he used the genjutsu on their ass. But it was a curse. It was a curse. But it didn't actually affect everybody. Fails was able to block some of it, just to keep some of the other creatures behind him, and Bells, of course, from being hit with it and by it, and actually them becoming confused and starting to rampage and fight one another. But Fails tells Bell, in order to break it, you have to defeat the caster, which is 101 for any type of spell or any type of general genjutsu or magic or anything that causes someone's freedom of will to be taken away. You either have to, one, find a way to cancel it, which only is 2 other ways: killing the person who cast it, or completely incapacitating the person or making them go unconscious. But this won't be such an easy task, because guys, Dix is a level 5 warrior, so he's no pushover, and we know Bell isn't quite there yet, and Argonaut's definitely gonna probably more than not help Bell out at this point. He's definitely gonna need to have some type of overpowered dragon punch. I don't see Fireball doing it, because Dix is a level 5. he does have some skill, and he's skilled at hunting monsters. So I couldn't imagine him fighting somebody one-on-one against like some of the bigger, more aggressive beasts we've seen him take down, like Foe and maybe some of the other ones. He will not be as easily subdued, which is where it's gonna be a good challenge to see how Bell will develop his skill to overcome this. I don't think he'll overcome this whole ordeal alone, but it'll be something to see how he does do it. And after Bale rushes in and they do the whole clash and the kind of pause frame, we see our little rabbit who's with the the girl who basically jumped on Bale's face earlier. We see her running back, riding the back of a wolf, and behind her is another armored big hulking beast. But to me, I believe it's a minotaur, and I know it's in my heart of hearts it has to be a minotaur. And I'm like, yo, it's gonna be funny to see how Bill, one, reacts to seeing this big ass minotaur show up, but two, where did this minotaur come from? We know they have like plenty of kin within the dungeon, but this minotaur's his outfit is too clean. Like, I want to say it's one of Athena's or one of her minotaurs, because we know she originally gave the first minotaur that Bell stamped his introduction to everyone in Aurario with a axe of some kind to fight. Or it could have been a club. Don't quote me on that. I could be very wrong. That's neither here nor there. But I think it could be one of hers. Like, she could possibly have some dealings with having these really big, brooding, hulking creatures be a part of her familia secretively, or she's, ushering or training them down in the dungeons to be like a task force of some kind for her, or additional army of whatever or why ever she's doing it. But, if it is a minotaur, I'm down for that, because it's an earth sign thing over this way. I'm a Taurus too, but it's just gonna be nice to see how this works out in Bell's favor. Like, is he gonna assist Bell, or is this one of the minotaurs that may have been in relation or some kind of kin to one of the minotaurs the minotaur that Bell did fight, or the ones that Oz had to save Bell from in the beginning. Sorry, I got confused there for a bit. But we won't know until the next episode, man. So look, if you've made it this far, man, thumbs up on the video, share it, like, comment. We aren't going to be reading the light novel again or making any speculations until we, go back in after the light novel. So if you say anything, no spoilers, please no spoilers. Just keep it free in the comments for anybody else, so we don't spoil anything, but like always, man, y'all stay blessed, y'all be easy, wash your hands, stay safe, subscribe, all that good stuff, man, and I will holler at y'all later. Peace.